Ito, tatlo lang yan. Actually, because the other data privacy laws, especially in Europe, actually they have more than 3. So, ano ba yung basic principles ng data privacy? Number 1, transparency. Number 2, legitimate purpose. And number 3, proportionality. So, I kind of explain that, no? So, ano ba yung transparency? Transparency, dapat alam mo as a data subject kung para saan, so bakit kinukolekta, para saan pinaprocess yung personal data na binigay mo sa isang company. Dapat malinaw sa iyo yun. Let's say, for example, ano ba uso ngayon? Contact tracing. Right? So, dapat, pag yung LGU nyo, meron silang app for contact tracing, dapat malinaw sa iyo na yung ibibigay mo dung personal data is only for contact tracing purposes. Hindi nila pwedeng gamitin yon sa any other purposes other than contact tracing because of COVID. Right? So yun, dapat malinaw sa yun. Dapat malinaw, sino ba yung nagpa-process niyan? Sino ba yung gumawa ng app na yan? Saan ba nila ini-store yung app? Sa cloud ba? Sa database ba ng isang, what do you call this, IT firm? Sa database ba ng munisipyo, for example? Nasa database ba yun ng DOH, Department of Health? So dapat malinaw sa inyo yun. Dapat transparent yung pag-process ng data. Legitimate purpose, dapat merong legitimacy yung pag-collect. So, for example, ano ba yung pinamagandang example nito? Kunyari, mag-open kayo ng bank account, right? So, yung bangko, kaya siya nanghihingi ng personal data sa inyo and sensitive personal data kasi meron silang legitimate purpose. Kasi, magta-transact ka sa amin, mag-open ka ng bank account. So, we have all the legal rights to collect your data kasi otherwise, hindi ka namin ma-open ng bank account. So, kasi for you to open a bank account, syempre, bibigay ka ng name, address, phone number, email. And then you would have to give your date of birth, ano pa ba, yung any other details so that they can do what they call a KYC. Yung tinatawag natin na know your customer. Kasi requirements yun. So, may legitimate purpose sila. Bakit nila hinihingi yun sa inyo? Now, proportionality, ano ba yung proportionality? Ito, dapat yung kinokollect ng data sa inyo o yung ibibigay mong data proportionate lang dun sa service na i-avail mo dun sa company. What's the very good example of this? I think since mga millennial naman tayo, right? Siguro nagsasubscribe naman tayo kay Spotify. Ako personally, I have Spotify. When I subscribe to Spotify, ang hiningi lang sa akin sa Spotify is my name, my email address, I think my phone yata, I can't remember, my cell phone, mobile phone. And that's it. Then when I click the submit link, pumunta lang ako sa payment portal to pay my subscription. But that's pretty much it. Kasi yun lang yung kailangan ni Spotify to enable your subscription. Hindi na ako tinanong, what's your father's name? What's your mother's name? What school did you go into? Ano religion mo? Ano political affiliation mo? What's your gender? No, they didn't ask about that anymore. So yun lang yun. So it's proportionate to the service that I availed from them. Now, for example, Netflix, for example, or iFlix, or HBO Max, or HBO Go, sometimes they would ask for the age. Why? Why kaya na age? Kasi there are certain age-appropriate movies kasi. So that's why they need to determine. So that is also proportionate to the request. Kasi, syempre, kung hindi kayo pwedeng manood ng very violent movies, for example, then they would need to know what's your age, right? So they would need to consider that. So that's proportionate. So gone are the days na yung mga companies magkukolekta ng data na disproportionate sa service. So I would give you a very quick test. Bago kayo umuwi ng bahay mamaya, try downloading the contact tracing app of your LGU or where you live in, kung meron man kayo na. Ngayon, tingnan nyo ngayon kung gaano kadami yung hinihingi nilang personal information as it relates to contact tracing. So you'll be surprised. Hopefully, konti lang, as in name, phone number, and address lang. Bilang kailangan naman to do contact tracing. But if they are asking for more than that, medyo magtaka na kayo. So it's disproportionate. Okay? Well, let's move on. So the National Privacy Commission, which is the regulatory body for data privacy, meron silang tinatawag na 5 pillars of compliance. So number 1, if you're a company or if you're a personal information controller, you need to appoint a data protection officer. The data protection officer will be the one accountable for the company's compliance. But ultimately, the company is still responsible. Siya yung magiging point person, yung data protection officer. Now, the DPO then should need to conduct a privacy impact assessment dun sa company. A privacy impact assessment, simply, what it does is that, kung meron kayong system, i-check lang niya kung ano ba yung kinokolekta nitong data. Okay, sino yung nagko-collect? Sino yung data owner? Saan to sinisave? Ano yung purpose, for example? Ano yung security measures to protect yung kinokolektang data na yun? And then, he or she would make a tracker of that or a log, and then titingnan niya sino ba yung high priority, sino ba yung pinaka-risky, then they would actually try to kind of put in more measures to protect it. So yun lang ibig sabihin ng privacy impact assessment. Yung privacy management program, ito na yung parang operational compliance ng kumpanya, meaning ito na yung day-to-day. Meaning ito na yung mga security awareness training, ito na yung pag-review ng mga kontrata, ito na yung kunyari merong nag-reach out na kliyente, customer, and say, uy, mag-update ako ng data ko. Mag-request siya sa DPO. Sige, i-relay ko dun sa appropriate department for them to do an update or deletion request for that matter. Kasi kung ayaw mo na ng subscription. So ito yon. Dito rin ginagawa yung tinatawag na privacy manual. Ito yung reference ng empleyado. Let's say, if they are the frontliners, meaning sila yung, kunyari, sa eskwela, right? Registrar's office, admissions office. Ito yung parang manual nila na, uy, pag ganito yung requirement, ano bang gagawin ko? Sino ba yung kailangan kong tawagan? O ano ba yung kailangan kong hingin dun sa prospective na estudyante na di sa eskwela natin, for example? Yun yung manual niya, easy reference. Now, yung pangapat, yung demonstration of your compliance, this is where you would apply yung tinatawag natin na organizational, administrative, tsaka technical controls. Meaning, ito na yung magba-background checking ka ng empleyado kasi umahawak sila ng personal information. Ito na yung meron kayong mga firewall, antivirus, for example, encryption sa mga computers and laptops. Ito na yung mga testing, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and so on and so forth. Ito na yung up to siguro kung talagang sobrang complex, yung nagso-source code review sila, and so on and so forth. Ito na yon, ito yung intervention mo to protect the personal data. Now, lastly, yung isang pillar is yung tinatawag natin na yung breach reporting procedure. Okay. Bakit napaka-importante nito? Kasi, well, I think hindi naman bago sa inyo that there's a lot of cybersecurity incidents that are happening around the globe, right? If you're reading some tech news, so, for example. So why do you need this? This is your process na if, for example, your company or your school, for that matter, dito, merong nang-hack sa kanila, for example, nakuha yung database, pero hopefully naka-encrypt yung database, right? And then pinabis na ito, nahack ko si ganitong eskwela. Ito yung i-invoke ng company to mitigate, to fix that, parang to address that issue. So yung tinatawag na breach reporting procedures, and it is required by the National Privacy Commission. Okay. So ano yung framework ng data privacy? This is the prescribed framework of National Privacy Commission. So from the governance, you have the baselining, you have yung organizational work na kailangan, your day-to-day, especially on the data subject rights servicing, yung HR natin in terms of security awareness, data privacy awareness, and so on and so forth. Sa number 6, ito na yung data security. This is where you apply, o mayroon ba tayong encryption policy? Do we do testing, right? Do we have antivirus? Do we have our own security group? Dito yon. Third party, if the company is outsourcing some work, secure ba sila? Are they data privacy compliant? Dito yon. Breaches. yung company ba natin, dapat meron tayong security incident management process. Kasi what if ma-breach na tayo, knock on wood, right? Alam natin kung anong gagawin. Madidetect natin siya. Mako-contain natin siya and mariremediate natin siya or fix. Dito yon. And then si NPC kasi, if you're a DPO, you're required to actually submit annual reports kay NPC for your security incidents. Now, so for data privacy, you're required to do privacy impact assessments on new projects, existing projects, and so on and so forth. So required yan, dapat ginagawa yan. Now, on the legal side, dapat minomonitor natin, updated tayo kay NPC, ano ba yung mga latest advisory niya, ano ba yung mga latest circular niya. Well, if you're reading the news, ang pinakahuli ngayon kay NPC is that they actually they submitted to the Department of Justice na kailangan filean ng kaso itong online money lending application company na to. I don't know if nabalitaan nyo yung before. So, ang nangyari is that magda-download ka ng app, pwede kang mangutang, microloans lang naman dun sa kumpanya. Kaya lang, the problem was, the mobile application itself, sobrang intrusive na meron siyang access dun sa address book ng phone mo. So, ang nangyari is that, and marami na-complain, about 683 of them, if I'm not mistaken, nung hindi na nakakabayad yung tao, ang ginawa nung mga staff nung kumpanya na yon is either tinext niya or tinawagan niya yung mga tao doon sa address book at sinabi na, hey, etong si Juan de la Cruz o to si Karen Batong Bakal, for example, manunuba to, may utang siya sa amin, and so on and so forth. So pinahiya niya yung mga may ganong utang. Pero actually, ang mali doon is that hindi na dapat ginawa yun kasi that is against the data privacy kasi unauthorized processing yun. So yun, check out Facebook and the website of National Privacy Commission data to check that out. So yun, it was a very recent news. I think Thursday lang lumabas yun or Friday if I'm not mistaken. So yun, so dapat updated kami as a data protection officer for such issuances. And also, regulations across the globe kasi baka it impacts our company. So dapat updated din tayo dyan. So ano ba yung data protection officer? So this used to be my role before. I'm one of the pioneers basically of as a pioneer DPO in the Philippines. So ano ba yung data protection officer? So number one, required siya ng law. Ito yung mga requirements. Required siya ng law. And the other thing is that kung DPO ka, if you're appointed, dapat organic ka sa organization, meaning empleyado ka. Or if consultant ka, ang nire-require ng batas, 2 years dapat may kontrata ka sa kumpanya. Importante kasi yung data protection officer. Why? Because he or she is the one who is accountable for the privacy program of the company. Siya yung mag-oversee, siya yung mag-start, siya yung mag-implement nun. And then, he or she is the single point of contact or focal person of National Privacy Commission. If there was a breach, the NPC will not call the president of the company, no. He will call the DPO. Now, the DPO must be familiar with the organization kasi and the reason with that is that you should know what personal data does your company collect. That's why you are doing the PIA. And then the DPO must be supported by your senior management, by the business units, and by the groups. Otherwise, the DPO would really have a hard time in in implementing the data privacy program of the company. So now, please pay attention with this. So this is very important. That's kasi this all affects us, right? Because we are data subjects. So ano ba yung personal information? What is that? What is personal information? So personal information is any information, whether recorded in a material form or not, from which the identity of an individual is apparent or can be reasonably ascertained by the entity holding the information. Second, when put together with other information, then you would be able to identify the person. Example, if Juan de la Cruz lang, hindi pa eh. Baka 10,000 or 100,000 ang Juan de la Cruz sa Pilipinas. Okay? Pero binigyan mo na ng address, Juan de la Cruz, nakatira siya sa 123 Kamuning Avenue, Quezon City. Pero hindi pa rin kasi baka mali mo, 1 de la Cruz yung nakatira doon. Ngayon, binigyan mo na ngayon ng phone number. 0999 for example lang, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ayan, medyo na-narrow down mo na. Medyo pwede mo na ma-ascertain yung tao. Pag ito yung name, ito yung address, ito ikaw nga yan, ikaw nga si Juan de la Cruz. Pag sinamahan pa ng email, medyo mas na-narrow down na yung tao, di ba? Parang mas na-filter na. Now, ang pinakaiba, so, personal information, parang at least, I think the easiest way to kind of put it as an example is that the information that you write into a raffle ticket. That's the simplest sample of personal information. So you put your name, you put your address, you put your contact number, and you put your email. And then if nabunot yung ticket, ikaw nanalo, right? So yun yung personal information. But personal information is actually not enough to really cause you harm pa. Okay, now let's go to what is sensitive personal information. Ito na. According to the law, personal information controllers or companies should not collect SPI unless they meet certain criteria. Okay? But I think I will not, I'm not sure if I would discuss that kasi medyo mahaba yun. But this should not be collected unless you meet certain conditions or criteria. So what are the samples of sensitive personal information? Ito na yun. Your age, your marital status, your color, your religion, your race, your ethnic origin, your philosophical or political affiliations, your education, your health, your genetic or sexual life, for example, your sexual preference, criminal history is also included. Any government or issued identifiers, ano ba yan? Passport, driver's license, TIN ID, SSS ID, UMID, PRC ID, and so on and so forth. Plate numbers are considered as a government-issued identifier. And any other information established by an executive order deemed as classified information. So what's the difference of this versus personal information? So these are the type of information that can be used for fraudulent activities, such as identity theft. Tama ba, right? So kasi this is the common information that is being asked of you. Let's say, kung magsasubscribe ka ng cable TV, kukuha ka ng bagong phone line, mag-a-apply kayo ng bagong bank account, for example, right? This is the kind of information that are asked other than the personal information. So, if someone gets hold of your sensitive personal information, and for example, pinalitan lang yung picture, then they can actually do those transactions on your behalf. So, that's why, as sinasabi ng batas, you need to protect this information if you're collecting them. And the second reason why very important to na protect is that it can also be used to discriminate you. Why? Why not? Ano yung dahilan? Number one, age. Kunyari nag-a-apply kayo ng trabaho, you're looking for a job, and you put there you're like 55 years old. I mean, we admit it. Let's admit it. Companies would not hire you for that matter. Ay, tanda na to. Baka masakitin na to, mag-a-absent na, hindi natin siya tatanggapin. Or sometimes, because of your marital status, let's say, single mom, naku, baka magka-problema pa tayo dito, baka lagi rin pala absent, or masyado mataas yung magiging expense natin dito kasi meron siya mga anak, and so on and so forth. Religion, for example, pwede kayong ma-discriminate there. Race, ethnic origin, let's say you are indigenous peoples, baka mamaya ma-discriminate kasi diligay mo gano'n. Your picture, alam mo naman sa atin, minsan nangyayari yan. Uy, mukhang abusayo to, wag natin hirin. Baka ako ano lang gawin nito. Right? Kaya dapat pag nagsasagay ng resume, don't put pictures. Don't. Kasi sometimes, you can get discriminated because of that. Education, right? Unless explicitly specified, I mean, you can get discriminated when you for your education. Health, lalo na health. For example, let's say, for example, you had tuberculosis, for example, right? Pero TB is treatable, 6 months, right? What if, for example, you work in a company, you had TB, so nagpahinga ka, you came back, and for some reason, that news leaked out sa mga office mate mo, ngayon pinandidirihan ka na. Now, the classic example of this is COVID. Remember, during last year, there were times na, COVID infected yan or nagtatrabaho yan sa, what do you call that, sa hospital. Di ba, she got discriminated, she was kind of thrown out from the apartment. Much more kung na-infect siya. Di ba, some families got locked out. So imagine nyo, ganun yung naging discrimination. So what if, for example, other than COVID, you had HIV, right? And someone leaked that information and then nalaman na ikaw HIV. So do you think people will not discriminate you? I think they will. So ganun siya ka-importante. Now I'll give you a tip for government-issued IDs. If, for example, you have one na. If you're being asked for government IDs to fill up some form or submit, give a government ID that expires. Kasi at least, at a certain period lang, hindi na valid yung ID. So if you're going to ask me, don't give your SSS, don't give your teen ID. Kasi hindi nag-expire yan. So give out an ID that expires. So that's just a tip. Okay? So now, malinaw tayo kung bakit the National Privacy Commission and the law actually prohibits us to collect this type of information, lalo if there's no really purpose for you to collect it or justified reason to collect it, because it can be used for fraudulent activities and be used for it can be used to discriminate you. Okay, so who are the data subjects? So tayo yon. We are the data subjects. Tayo yon. Now, what are our rights as a data subject? So we have the right to be informed. Saan nyo ba gagamitin yung data ko? Para saan ba yan? Saan yung store? You have the right to access your data. School, ano ba yung hawak nyo na data for me? Can I access it? Can I see it? You have the right to object, meaning I don't want to give my consent to that. I don't. You have the right to do that. You have the right to erase or blocking. Let's say, for example, tapos na yung subscription nyo with a certain telco company or some other software services. Then, bayad naman na ako, I'm done with my subscription. Can you delete my data? You can actually request that. You have the right for damages just in case na violate yung rights nyo, because you have the right to complain kay NPC if you felt that you have been violated. Ang sample ko kanina is that payment mobile lending app. So those 683 plus people, they complained to NPC. Now, they have the right to seek damages from that company. Now, you have the right to rectification of your personal data, meaning kung mali spelling, then you have the right to correct it. Mali yung birthday, for example, dapat ganitong year, then you have all the right for correction or rectification. And then lastly, you have the right to data portability. And data portability is that if a company holds data from you, you can actually request it, hey, can you give me a copy in a format that I can easily import to another machine or another system? May it be, kunyari, ang format niya is CSV format or text file format. So yun lang yung sinasabi na right to data portability. Now, what's the difference between a controller and a processor? Ang personal information controller, your school is actually a personal information controller because they collect your personal data. They process it, yung personal data nyo, because you're studying with them. And they're storing the data. They're holding it. So they're called a controller. Now, ang processor, ang pinakamagandang example ng processor is that if, for example, the school hired a medical institution to do your annual checkup, for example, and they outsource it to a certain hospital, so they gave your personal data to that hospital kasi they will do the annual physical exam, then the hospital or the medical institution is the processor because in-outsource ni controller yung trabaho na pag-process ng data to that third party or outsourced vendor. So they are processing your data upon the instruction of the controller. So yun ang pinagkaiba ng dalawa. Now, what's the other difference? If, for example, the data breach happen sa processor, sa hospital, actually, yung hospital liable sa school. But si school, ultimately ang liable and accountable kay National Privacy Commission and to the law. So that's the other difference. So ito na yung criteria kanina kung for you to be able to collect data. Number one is consent. Dapat may consent ka. Nag-consent ka sa pag-collect. Pangala, if there's a legal obligation for you to give data. I'll explain it later kung ano yung sample niyan. When it's necessary for your own protection, let's say health and life and death situation or health situation, then kasama siya sa criteria. And number 4 is that kung mayroong legitimate interest in company to collect data on your behalf. From you, sorry. Yun, these are the samples. So consent, ang consent dapat informed kayo, you're informed, and you have freely given your consent to the controller, and it should be explicit, meaning it's either in writing, you tick a box, you put a check mark, you click a button, submit, and they have saved that action in their system. So ganun siya dapat. So gone are the days na meron kayo makikita notice that says, while accessing this website, you agree with our privacy policy. That's wrong. Actually, no. So dapat explicit. Hindi siya implied consent. Dapat explicit consent. So ano yung compliance with legal law and obligation? So syempre, if you want to get your TIN ID, lalo na pag mag-work na kayo after you graduate, right? So you will need to give your personal data to BIR so that you can get a TIN, your TIN, and then you would be able to pay your taxes. That's your legal obligation. Same goes with SSS or GSIS. Syempre, kailangan natin yan for our own pension. If you are applying for a passport, a driver's license, you will need to give your PI and SPI. Yung personal information is sensitive personal information kasi you need that. You need to do that. You need to give that kasi it's required by law. If you're going to get married, pero wag muna ngayon kasi mga nag-aaral pa kayo, right? Don't. You need to provide that because if you're, what do you call this? If you're accomplishing a contract, you need to, there's a legal basis, there's a legal obligation for you to give your, or to, for you to, give out or collect personal data. And for any other IDs like LET and the PRC for professionals. What's the third one? Ito na, protection of data subject or another person. So for example, for medical consultations, you need to give your personal data. So how would they know if ilang taon ka na? What's your medical condition, right? Paano ka na bibigyan ng tamang treatment? If you're hospitalized, in case of health emergencies, right? Hindi ka natatanong, magkukonsent ka ba? No. If it's a life with that situation, parang inaatake na kayo sa puso, hindi ka natatanong, sir, magkukonsent ka ba? No, hindi ganon. They will provide you medical attention kasi covered naman na they're allowed to because it's a life and death situation. It's a health emergency, so okay lang yan. Law and order, for example, if kung may curfew or merong police, what do you call it, or military activity that might need to do some work that would necessitate for you to give your data, then kailangan nila yon. For example, NBI, right? For you to get an NBI clearance or police clearance, you need to give your personal data. National security is the same. Contact tracing is a very good example, right? Because it's for national security. It's a health emergency basically, right? So you need to give your personal data because it's a criteria for processing. And lastly, legitimate interest. So companies have a legitimate interest to collect your data. For example, banks. You cannot open a bank account if you will not give personal data. No, they can't because they will need to do KYC, yung tinatawag natin na know your customer. If you are filing for a loan, if you're getting an insurance, if you are renting a house that would require you to sign a lease agreement, they would need your information. If you're applying for membership in the school, in any professional organization, or even your subdivision homeowners association, you would need to give your information. And subscription, if you're like subscribing to Netflix, iFlix, Spotify, and so on and so forth, right? Then you need to give your information because there's a legitimate interest for that. So what are personal data security? So in security, we have this principle called CIA. But at the middle of it, nandun yung data security. So we have a saying that, you can have security without privacy, but you cannot have privacy without security. So intertwined siya. So there should be confidentiality, there should be integrity, and there should be availability. for that. So for us to be able to protect, your data. So ano ba yung mga samples ng security measures? You have the organizational, you have the physical, and you have the technical security. What are organizational samples? You appoint a DPO. You have a data policy. You enforce your policy. You're keeping your records of processing. You train your personnel, right? And then you have contracts with your vendors. Ano yung physical security? Syempre, dapat, if you're not an employee or if you're not a student of the school, you just cannot enter the school without your ID. Yung workstation nyo, do you have a privacy filter in your workstation so that the man or the person sitting beside you cannot see what your screen is, right? Do you have physical locks in your, in your area? Do you have lock and keys in your cabinets? Do you shred your documents? That's also a physical security. For technical security naman, does the school have a security policy, an acceptable use policy? Do they have firewalls, antivirus, to secure you from attacks, web attacks? Do they monitor for breaches, for example? Do they have that monitoring capability? Do they have a plan to restore yung school database just in case na ma-breach siya? That's a sample. Do they test their security from on a regular basis? At the simplest level, do they encrypt their laptops, For example, the school registrar or the admissions people, are their desktops encrypted, yung hard drive or yung mga thumb drives, the portable drives? Are they encrypted if they storing students' data there? I hope they should. Kasi what if ma-misplace yun? That's already considered a personal data breach. So, for data protection officers, we actually do this on a regular basis. We call it a privacy impact assessment. It's simply doing a risk assessment of the systems and processes of, for example, of the school or the company to check whether meron ba tayong risks, meron ba tayong gaps dun sa processes when we're collecting data, so that we can actually identify them and then we can prioritize them, and therefore we can actually address and mitigate those risks. So yun lang yung simplest explanation ng PIA. So what is a data breach? Yan. So ito, unfortunately, this happens, if you're reading the news, what happened with Singtel, I think, merong lumabas sa balita, Singtel's customer data, there's a database na breach siya. Yun nangyari kay FireEye and SolarWinds. That's considered a breach or a security breach. I think lately there's a local fintech company in the Philippines. I will not just name it, and I think sila Benji knows this already, because in a security circle we are kind of sharing information so we can help each other out. There's a fintech app that was na-discover meron siyang breach, and the number of records that was breached is about 3.3 million. So medyo marami siya. Just research it na lang. It's very recent. So what is a data breach? So a personal data breach is that someone had unlawfully accessed altered a personal data, that affected yung CIA triad natin, na-affect yung confidentiality ng data, na-affect yung integrity ng data kasi there was alteration. Confidentiality meaning unauthorized person yung nakakuha. Hindi siya dapat niya makita yun, hindi niya dapat ma-access. And availability meaning the data was lost. Therefore, if you need it, you cannot access it. Now, in the law, the National Privacy Commission requires the personal information controller to actually report the data breach within 72 hours. Lalo na if, for example, so there are criteria. Number one is that kung merong na-involved na sensitive personal information. And then, the person who got the information is unauthorized. Sabihin, either a hacker or or not an employee of that personnel, pero for some reason they got the information or the database, for example. And if the data that was breached will actually cause risk or harm dun sa data subject, meaning may sensitive personal information, they can use that for identity fraud. So yun, you need to report to National Privacy Commission. Now, this is the fines and penalties. So take note of this. You can actually screenshot if you can. So ito yung law natin actually is one of the most stringent data privacy laws out there, because our law will give you a fine and imprisonment if you violate the law. So for example, dun sa, I don't know kung ano magiging hatol dun sa that mobile lending app company, but ang naging kaso nila, actually, ang magiging kaso nila is unauthorized processing of PI and SPI. So if proven guilty, they're looking at a 4 million fine and about probably 6 years of imprisonment. So ganun siya katagal. So imagine if you're doing it, let's say for example, ang naging kaso natin is improper disposal of sensitive personal information. Meaning, you have stacks of student application forms. The student application forms na merong personal information and sensitive personal information, itinapon lang sa basurahan, ipinatapon kay manong janitor, tapos itinapon niya lang basta, hindi nila shinred, hindi nila scratch reading. Tapos may nakakuha and then use it for fraudulent activity. That's it. The school will be held liable. So 3 years maximum imprisonment and 1 year, 1 million fine. So ganun siya kahigpit. And ito pa yung ibang fines and penalties. So hindi biro mag-violate or maging non-compliant sa Data Privacy Act. Now, sabi nila, ay, ang DPO lang ang makukulong dyan. No, it's not true. The one who will be fined and who will be penalized and imprisoned will be the guy or the person who is most negligible. I will give you an example. Kasi what if ako as a data protection officer, sinabi ko na sa company na, hey, we need a firewall to protect our network, for example, kasi naglabas tayo ng server pero we're accessing internet pero wala tayong firewall. There's nothing protecting us from, external threats. Pero sinabi ng management, hindi, wala akong budget eh. Pero dinocument ng DPO yon na nag-request siya, in-emphasize niya yung risk of without having a firewall and nagkaroon ng breach. Now, when NPC investigates that, makikita na, ginawa naman ni DPO yung trabaho niya eh. Na in-identify niya yung risk with a privacy impact assessment, dinocument niya. In-inform niya yung senior management na kailangan niya ng firewall. Pero hindi siya pinagbigyan, hindi bumili na breach. Absuelto yung DPO doon. Ang mananagot, sino yung head ng kumpanya. So take note of that. I think that's the last of my slide actually. So at least hopefully everyone got a very good or learned something out of what I have presented. Medyo mabilis lang to because normally I teach data privacy and protection for two days actually. So I gave you a very congested 1 hour version of it. So let me know if you have any questions now. I'm open for questions. So then probably you can facilitate that.
So thank you, Sir Gomez, for giving us a clear discussion on what the Data Privacy Act is. So anyone with questions po, you can chat your questions on our chat box.
Sige, hintay tayo. Pero hopefully, every one of you have at least an understanding ano ba yung Data Privacy Act, ano yung rights nyo. And then I think we should have school staff in the, in the audience, especially from the admissions, from registrar, admin, and professors who are doing remote distance classes. Take note, if you're doing remote distance, you cannot just take pictures of your class, kung merong ibang tao on the background, because it's a violation of of data privacy kasi they shouldn't take pictures of that, right? Kasi they did not consent to that. What if minor pa yon? So please be very careful when you're also getting information from your students, especially the faculty. So let me see. May mga questions na ba? I think there are. Let me see.
Yes, sir. So, sir, for the first question po from Christina Magnaye. So, cyber attacks are increasing both in scope and frequency as it is. Now that the pandemic has highlighted this challenge as organizations adopt to remote work, how does this influence data protection landscapes?
Actually, to answer to that is that actually, and then Benji and the other participants of this and other speakers of this conference would actually agree with me na I think it made our jobs more difficult because before we're just kind of protecting the data subjects are just confined in the regular brick and mortar offices, meaning nasa school lang kayo, nasa office lang kayo. But now with the pandemic, when all of us are remotely accessing our systems, ngayon hindi na kami sure whether is your Wi-Fi secure. Baka pati kapitbahay niyo nakakonect dyan kasi you don't have a password or you're not even using WPA2 or WPA3 encryption, for example. How are we sure that the laptop that you're using doesn't have any antivirus or doesn't have virus? How are we sure that the professor or the registrar or the admissions personnel, yung laptop or desktop na ginagamit na that contains student information is not using encryption? Baka mamaya hindi nakikita, manakaw siya. So that's already a data prop. So it made our life kind of harder in terms of monitoring and securing personal data simply because nawala na yung perimeter. It's all gone. You're not inside an office anymore. You're not inside the school's network na tinatawag. You're out. You're using your own internet connection. So medyo may, but obviously the security professionals in this room is actually made that realization now we need to up our game. We need to put in more controls. Ano pa isang tanong? Can you read the Angelica question? Let's say I'll just try. Sir, anong tanong ko po is paano po kung yung employee ang may kapabayaan? Okay, so this is a very good question. Employee ng school or employee ng company. Now, ultimately, the accountable is the DPO and the responsible is the company. But internally, the company has policies to sanction that erring employee. They can give out a verbal written warning or they can actually terminate the person if talagang sobrang mali yung ginawa niya. So that's how you address it. But sa mata ni NPC, ang accountable pa rin yung company, yung controller. That's na. So the next question is, DPO officers requires IT position? No, the answer is no. It doesn't require an IT position. It's better if you have at least some sort of IT knowledge, but it's not required. What's important for a DPO is he knows the organization, right? In and out. He knows the processes. He has some sort of independence kasi hindi pwedeng kung meron siyang gustong pagawa and then kinokontra siya ng senior management pero tama yung sinasabi niya, dapat may sort of independence siya. And then dapat walang conflict of interest. Hindi pwedeng ikaw yung database administrator pero ikaw rin yung DPO. It's not gonna work. Hindi pwedeng ikaw yung registrar, ikaw yung DPO. It doesn't work that way. Hindi pwedeng ikaw yung IT head, ikaw rin yung DPO kasi may conflict yun. So yun. Pero it does help if you have an IT background. Pero it's not required.
Okay, sir. So for the next question from Lawrence Icaro.
Mas organization, appoint
a data protection officer?
Okay, it depends. Kasi may criteria yung pagiging DPO. Number one is that you're required to register a DPO kay NPC if you have more than 250 employees or you're processing 1,000 data subject personal data. So yun, required ka mag-register ng DPO and to register ng NPC. Pero, if for example, small company ka, the de facto DPO is the head of the company. Let's say, siya yung presidente, siya yung parang chief consultant, so siya yung technically de facto DPO. So, ang isang question, to be a DPO, it must be certified. Actually, no, it's not. But it's good for you to study and learn the data privacy principles and be updated. But for me, being certified is actually giving more credibility to your skill. Parang hindi mo na ipuprove sa mo na, hindi, alam ko data privacy. Na kasi ganito. No, makita pa lang na, kasi you have gone through this review course, you've gone through this rigorous training, and then you took the exam and passed it. I think that's something that you can actually that's up to for you to it's a good to have. Yeah, it's a nice to have thing, but it's not really required. Okay, anything else? I think we exceeded our time by
Yes, sir.
5 minutes.
So I think there were no more questions. So let me proceed to the awarding of certificate. This certificate is awarded to J. Gomez for for imparting his valuable insights and inspirations for inspiring conference during the HKNL 2021, given this 21st of February 2021, signed by our project manager, Jonard Pangan, our sitesphil president, Ms. Rochelle Zamora, and our head of consulting, Mr. Brian Zamora. So thank you, sir. Thank you po. Thank you, Sir Jay.
It's a pleasure, having what do you call this, inviting this event, and hopefully you learn something from me. And I think I'll just thank the sponsors, sila Benji and sitesphil. Thank you very much. And from Isaka, I was the representative of Isaka. Thank you so much. And for everyone in the call, take care and ingat po tayo. Iwas COVID. Thank you so much. Bye.
So, hello. Okay? Yan. So, di ba, supposedly dapat dalawa yung natin, yung raffle natin. So, let's just make this quick. So, we will be giving away 4 HKNL shirts. Again, we will have a raffle. So, same criteria kung hindi available yung so let's just draw again. Okay. Okay, so for the first one, yung manalo is Rhea P. Balontong from CPU. Yan. So congratulations. Please, someone will contact you para dun sa natin sa prizes natin. So we have 3 more. Okay. So Popioko Cyril James C. So and then andito rin sa So again, congratulations. Excuse me. So we have 2 remaining shirts. Okay. So Deolanda Micaela Angela from Faith. So hindi daw, wala daw siya dito. Okay. So congratulations to Lipurada Sharol. Wala rin. Okay. Virtudes EJ from USTP. Wala rin. Okay. So may dalawa pang remaining. Abigail Echano Imperial from PCC. So wala din. Yan. Okay. So So Balmadres Christine May from USTP. So wala din. So dalawang shirt na lang, dalawa na lang. Celeste Katrina Zin. Yan. Okay. So for the last shirt, let's see kung sino mananalo. Oriondo Joshua from Faith. Wala. Okay. Mendoza Erwin Carl from Faith. Mukhang wala rin. Okay. Rielin Almanzor Santos of TCC. So, wala din. Garlit Jed Angelo R from CPU. Yan. So, congratulations. So, kompleto na po yung ano natin sa raffle natin. Then, again, someone will contact you kung paano makiklaim yung prizes sa raffle. So, congratulations. Congratulations sa inyo. Okay, so let's proceed para dun sa ating next speaker. So, yung next speaker natin, and this most awaited keynote speaker. So, we are honored and privileged to introduce him to you. So, he is the inspiration of the whole sitesphil team, and he's here to talk about the lost art of input validation. So, mamaya malalaman nyo kung ano yun. So, he is the Chief InfoSec Officer of Makati Soft Inc. or Swapo Labs Inc. And also the founder and the head of consulting of Sophie's IT Services or sitesphil. And he has been working in the IT industry for more than 20 years, 11 of which in the InfoSec industry. So he holds most of the well-known international certifications, including ISACA's CSEM or CISM, ISC to CISSP, EC Council's LPT, CompTIA's CASP, MILTO's CSWAE, and others. Okay. He has been talking in different conferences and has founded sitesphil's Hackin ka na lang, so this event, so that he can achieve his goal of an IT and InfoSec aware Philippines. Let's all welcome Mr. Benji Brian Zamora.
Hello, ER. Kamusta?
Hello, sir.
So, yan. So, alam ko, inaantok na kayo. Lumaba na yung dami ng participants natin. So, again, siguro ito yung gusto ko sa again, normal sitesphil way of doing things. Okay lang mag-chat kayo. So, kung pwedeng unmute natin sila lahat. So, mag-chat kayo anytime na gusto nyo. Kung may tanong kayo na gusto nyo, interrupt nyo ako. Kung meron akong masasabi na palagay nyo mali, mas gusto ko, nabigyan ko pa kayo ng t-shirt pagka namali nyo ako. So, ganun ako ganun. Kasi yan, ang objective ko, sabi ko nga, objective ko IT InfoSec Aware Philippines. So, pag may mali sinasabi yung speaker, paano mo siya magiging aware kung mali tinuturo? Yan. Sir Anton, yan. So, yan gusto ko, di ba? Gusto ko tayo. Ayoko magsayangan tayo ng oras. Gusto kong sinabi ako sa inyo, napakinabangan nyo. So, ganito ako magsalita. Medyo direkta lang minsan. Tagalog pa. Ba't ko tinatagalog? Kasi pag magsalita ng English, okay lang. Pero mas gusto ko magsalita ng English kasi may mga bagay talaga, technical terms na talagang walang Tagalog. Pero kaya kong Tagalogin ko nang maintindihan natin lahat. Para sa Pilipinas tayo eh. So, IT InfoSec Aware Philippines. And, kamusta, Sir Anton? Oo nga, sir. Next time, tayo? Kita tayo. Okay. Yan. So, without further ado, let's go to the slides. So, itong slides na to, I have been doing these slides for ilang months na, since September yata, October if I'm mistaken. Iniikot ko lang yung slides. Every year, nagbabago ng slides. Yung objective dito is ipakita kung gaano kabilis mag-hack. Kasi sabi ng mga former speakers, di ba? 70 or 80% of all attacks go to the application level. So, pakita ko sa inyo actual. Tapos ko ng CompTIA-Sec, makapag-exam din na. Salamat, sir. Salamat, Sir Anton. So, objective is, pakita yung pabak. So, ipakita yung mga attacks sa application level. Makita natin kung paano talaga nangyayari. Okay, so you lost art of invalidation. Bakit ko pinangalandakan? Kasi karamihan kami sabi ni Sir Jay kanina, bibili tayo ng firewall, bibili tayo ng mga security controls, kahit sa Labudyo, sa BJ Taduran, hindi, tsaka kahit si Milo kanina, sinabi rin niya, walang nag-iisang control, security control na makasagot ang lahat ng problema natin. Kung meron lang ganun, sana na-invento na siya para bibili natin siya, secure tayo lahat. Walang ganun. So, ang objective natin is patong-patong layer defense sa ibang libro, defense in depth sa ibang libro. At isa to sa mga dapat nating gawin is yung sa application level is yung input validation. Normal na ginagawa to ng mga tao dito, normal na kinakalimutan para to ng mga developers natin kasi naka-framework ka daw tayo. Susunod ko yun. So, framework and application frameworks, or coding frameworks. Ang sabi nila, tawag mo rito, dahil naka-framework na kami, naka-coding night na kami, Laravel na kami, or tawag dito, sa Java, naka-Spring na kami, hindi na kayo ma-hack. So, dito to yun. Actually, pakita ko sa inyo kung bakit dito to yun. So, let's go to the next slide. So magyayabang ko ng konti. Yan. Actually, nabanggit na naman ni Iyer kanina. So, siso ko ng Makati Soft Ink. So, what ko na kayo palagi. Actually, hanggang February 28 na lang ako ron. So, I'll be focusing more sa sitesphil. Pero pinagamla ko siya palagi kasi kung natas ako na mag-secure ng blockchain, sabi ko nga, di ba? Dahil ko sinasabi ito, kung yung AI, bukod sa AI tsaka sa machine learning, siguro wala nang mas high-tech pa sa blockchain or sa cryptocurrency. So kung kaya natin secure yun, siguro, I guess, kaya natin secure kahit ano. So yan. So medyo marketing part din para sa sitesphil. Next, I have been at the time the head of consulting of sitesphil. So yan, maging ganyan na. Tama, sir, lata ka po. Sige, state of mind. Tama, sir, Sir Anton. So I'm the founder and head of sitesphil. So hopefully, tuloy-tuloy na. Again, lahat ng business apektado ng COVID. So hopefully, again, nag-open up na yung sabi ng DTI, nag-open up na yung industry natin. So hopefully diretso na yung business just for sitesphil. Next, I have been working in the IT industry for more than 21 years na. So medyo mali ng isang taon lang nung kanina, 2021 na. So 11 of which I have been sa InfoSec industry. So, but actually okay lang yan, pero mas pinagamla ko yung I have been programming since I was 8 years old. So kung nabutan yung GW Basic ng panahon na tawag mo rito, yung 5.5 floppy pa. Actually, wala pang disket nun, nabutan ko na. So ngayon yung mga disket natin, disket USB na. So yan, so GW Basic, nabot ako, nag-code na ako. Hanggang ngayon, nag-code pa rin ako. Actually, tapos ko lang mag-tag thesis ko. So salamat sa team ko kasi tulungan nila ako. So I have been working on Node, Angular, Python, Perl, tsaka PHP. As I hold most of the international certification, ba't pinagamalaki rin to? Kasi di ba dapat yung nagkasalita dapat sa harapan nyo, hindi mo kailangan certified pero at least knowledgeable. So sa mga sabi rin ni Sir Comtian, Sir Orly kanina, hindi nakakasama. It just gives more credence kung certified ka sa mga bagay-bagay. At yung hawak ng certification, hindi nga putyo-putyo. Yung pinakamatataas sa galing kay Sir Isaka siya, galing sa Mile 2. So lahat ng pinakamataas certifications ng lahat ng certification body. Pero sa OSCP, hindi ko pa nakuha. So yan, kinuha ko na. Para at least sigurado kayo sa mga sinasabi ko. Okay. So next, I hold a BS Computer Engineering degree from UP Diliman. So ito siguro yung dahil taga Pilipinas tayo. And I'm currently finishing up. Actually, I already finished. Pero lang pala kasi meron kailangan pang i-file. So I have finished my Master's in Information Systems sa UP Open University. So siguro kung halimbawang papalarin, again, depends on ang mangyayari for the next couple of years or next couple of months. Baka diretso ko na sa doctoral. Baka yun. Hindi ako nagkasama kakaaral So magkakaroon ako na mag-aral. So baka again, depende sa mangyayari. So kasi yung doctoral studies kasi libre. So syempre ako magpaging pabigat sa sitesphil. So imbes na nawawala na ako sa swap So imbes na maging pabigat ako, kita na lang ako habang nag-aaral ako. Okay. So next slide. Again, sorry, alam mo medyo mayabang ako. Diretso nyo lang. Tawag dito, just stop me whenever possible. Kaya kung sinasabi itong konting kayabangan at actually sobrang kayabangan na. So it's para i-validate lahat ng sinasabi ko. Diba? Kasi sino ba yung venue sa Moro na yan? Yung mga kayo, Sir Anton, kilala ko. Pero most of you, lalo kayo mga estudyante, hindi nyo kilala kung sino ako. So yan. So natutuwa ako sila Sir JB, binanggit ako, sila Budjo, dati ko mga tao yung mga yan. Si Friedman lang yung hindi nakakilala sa akin. Pero lahat, actually kasi si Friedman nga kilala ko. Kasi wala hindi kami hindi first name basis. So kina-highlight ko lang kung sino yung kausap mo. Kaya mo yan sa ikaw pa ba? So next is so agenda tayo. So what is input validation? Yung normal na ano ba talaga yung pag-validate? back-end tsaka front-end validation, ang pinagkaiba nila. Tapos input validation attack. So, with demo. So, yung mga estudyante, alam ko yung mga estudyante, ano yung mga hindi nga millennials, tinama pa ako ng anak ko, Gen Z daw kayo kay Gen Z. Yung mga Gen Z, hindi sila naniniwala hanggang di nakita. To see is to believe, di ba? Actually, kahit yung mga tao ganun eh. So, pakita ko sa inyo, actual attacks. Okay? So, di lang may actual attack. Pag nasagot, magtatanong pa ako minsan kamaya, kung may masagot kayo, Dr. Gade, sir, nang simula. Sige, sir. Salamat, sir. Salamat, sir Anton. So, yung actual attack, pakita ko, para makita nyo totoong nangyayari to sa mga websites nyo. Kung pwede ka lang sa website nyo eh. Kung actually, nagkapa-volunteer din ako eh. Kung sino may gusto mag-volunteer ng website nila, live demo, gagawin natin. So, free VAPT live. Okay. So, best practices pa, siyempre, hindi lang dapat taga-atake. Dapat alam natin kung paano siya pinifix, kung paano hindi nangyari atake. And last but not least, so Q&A. So, anytime, kung meron kayo gustong sabihin, again, naka-open yung chat, just shoot. Kahit magano kayo mag-audio, wala sa akin problema. Yung Benji na yan, ang yabang-yabang, mali mo sinasabi. So, okay lang sa akin yan. Gusto ko gawin nyo sa akin yan. May free t-shirt pa kayo. Okay, so next slide. Okay, saan ba input validation? Sabi ng Wikipedia, actually galing itong sa Wikipedia, galing sa Microsoft. So, sabi ko maraming ginawang mali ang Microsoft, pero tama yung definition lang input validation at ito yung ginamit pati ng OWASP saka ng Wikipedia. Input validation is the process of ensuring data have undergone data cleansing to ensure blah 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 blah. So yung sabihin lang nun, tawag rito pagka papasok, ang normal sa cycle declaration is para security guard. So, sabi ng security guard kung pwede ka masok sa lugar na yun or hindi. So, maganda example, siguro sa school, di ba, no ID, no entry. So, yung ID, input validation. Pag wala kang ID, bawal pumasok. Pero alam, pag si Kim Chu ka. Pag ano, sabi ni Kim Chu? Nakalimutan ko na yung tugtog na yun. Sige. So, yun. Pag bawal, pero pag sumunod ka sa batas, pwede nang pumasok. Ewan ko, nakalimutan ko na. Naguluhan din ako ron eh. So, yan. So, ayun yung input validation. So, input validation is performed to ensure only properly formed data. So, na naka-ID, siya lang makakapasok sa loob ng information system. Preventing malformed data for persisting in database. So, can SQL injection. Tawag mo rito, and triggering malfunction of various downstream components. Kasi pag nakapasok na yung malformed data, halimbawa yung walang ID, nakapasok sa eskwelahan natin, possible na estudyante din siya doon at merong, pero possible na hindi na siya estudyante. Possible na magnanakaw siya, possible na mamatay tao siya. So, ayun lang yung way ng security guard para malaman kung totoo na totoong estudyante pasok sa loob ng eskwelahan. So, siyempre pa tayo mga estudyante, ako, medyo makulit tayo eh. Ayaw natin tawag dito, ayaw natin na nag-ID. Pero sa totoo lang, big deal siya. Kasi ayun lang yung way para hindi makapasok yung masasamang tao sa loob ng eskwelahan natin, ng premises natin. Okay? So, ayun yung input validation. Okay. So, next slide. So, ano daw yung difference ng front-end at back-end validation? Ito, nagulat ako at nalulungkot ako. Marami akong developers na nakausap recently. Actually, parang simula last year. Nung pinakita ko to, nagulat ako na kala ko 100% ng developers alam to. So, hindi pala lahat. Parang siguro 70%, parang 30% developers hindi niya naintindihan to. Sabi nga ni Mitch kanina. So, yung QA is the new QA. So, may mga hindi nakakaintindi pa pala. So, sabi nga, actually, pangit pa, no? Kaya nga sabi, iba yung wiring ng developer tsaka ng QA. So, again, hindi ako nagmamalit ng tao, pero pag hindi ka naintindihan to, dapat siguro mag-aral ka muna before ka mag-develop. Okay. So, normal na nangyari kasi yung user, pupunta sa isang website, tapos merong front-end validation. Ang continuous learning lang para sa mga participants, dapat lahat pagkalahat. Tama, sir, sa Anton. So, ang tawag ko rito, yung front-end validation, usually ginagamit yan. So, ginagamit yan ng Angular, Vue.js, HTML, JavaScript, yung sa React. So, yan. So, usually React is ginagamit ng Facebook. So, React yan. Pero JavaScript ang technically yan. Okay, so, lahat to ginagawa front-end validation. Tapos pag na-validation sa front-end, paklik ka next, tsaka pupunta sa back-end. So, mag-iba yung front-end tsaka back-end. So, dapat, again, lalo sa mga estudyante natin, so ito yung first siguro na pwede nyo matutunan sa slides ko. Iba yung front-end sa back-end. Kasi meron din ako nakita ng estudyante, nakausap ko parang sa last year na Hackin ka na lang. Sabi niya, naka-React po kami. Yung React kasi front-end lang, one part lang siya. Hindi aandar yung application na front-end lang. Hindi application ang tawag doon. UI ang tawag doon pag front-end lang. Kailangan meron pa rin back-end na sasalo. So, React yung nasa front-end, yung Facebook, meron din back-end yung Facebook. Actually, magulat kayo kasi normal narinig ko rin to. Pag PHP daw, hackable. PHP yung back-end mo. Hindi totoo yun. Kung yung Facebook ka, PHP ang back-end eh. Sabihin, sana knock yung Facebook. So it's not the programming language. It's the programmer. It's the developer. So programming language is just a tool. Okay. So ito yung mga back-end programming languages. Ruby on Rails, Node, Java, PHP. PHP ginagamit pa rin ng Facebook ngayon. You can research on it, baka sabihin dinadayo kayo. React lang yan sa unahan. So pwedeng React sa unahan, tapos PHP sa likod. Pwedeng Angular sa Node sa likod. Walang problema doon. Mas importante, kasi strings lang naman to, nagmamatch yung tabi-tabi na to ng front-end na payload papunta sa back-end. Again, kung may tanong kayo doon, I can expound on that. Pero for the purpose of konti oras natin, isipin nyo lang yung front-end nagbabato ng string yung string of characters papunta sa back-end para ma-process niya. So, the last but not least, yung Python, yung sikat ngayon, Python programming. Okay? So, ito yung normal na nangyari. Yung 30% developers na kausap ko, developers ito mga to, experienced developers, hindi na alam, pwede pa lang mula sa user, hindi daw sa front-end, diretso sa back-end. So, ito nakakalungkot. Ayan. So, hindi na alam to. So, may mga tools, kamukha ng curl, ng postman. Actually, sa atin, hindi na spec element na nga lang. Pwede ka or fiddler. Ayan. So, nagabangkit ako ng mga tools. So, pwede mo tawag dito, pwede direkta ka na sa back-end. At dahil yung validation, ginawa mo lang sa front-end, alam sa malamang na matagal ka nang nahack. So, matagal ka na makukulong, kamukha na sabi ni Sir Jay. Millions of pesos ang kulong, ang multa, at 3 years to 6 years imprisonment. Prisyon na mayor. Pag halimbawa nahack ka na nga, kulong ka pa. So, ayun yung mga kailangan natin malaman. Okay? So, next slide. So, ano yung atake? So, yan sa mga, so alam ko, excited dapat actually, ayan, try to pababa ng konti mga natin, pero mga sa waiting room na, so i-update na lang natin sila. So, ito na yung actual atake. Papakita ko sa inyo kung paano siya nangyayari, paano nangyayari mismong attack. So, next slide. So, yan. So, ang normal, pag hinati-hati ko itong slides ko, sa normal na HTML forms, HTML form input fields. Okay, input fields. So, ang pauna na input field, again, correct me if I'm wrong. Sabi ko sa inyo, okay, free t-shirt, correct nyo ako. So, text area at added fields. So, dito normally, kasi sabi na merong SQL injection sa cookie. Pero ito yung normal nakita sa HTML5, okay? Dito nangyayari yung SQL injection. Okay, so pakita natin SQL injection. Sige. So tayo sa browser, JC. So si JC yung aking tawag dito, yung aking assistant for this presentation. So yan. So yung DBWA, ayan. So it's a damn vulnerable application. So type natin yan. Okay. So, isa page yung MySQL application. Ay naman PHP. So, sir, talaga namang unsecure yung PHP. So, hindi po yung PHP unsecure. Yung pagkaka-code po yung unsecure. Talaga kasing minent siya. Okay? It is damn vulnerable. Its main goals are to aid security professionals like ourselves to test their skills in practices and tools in a legal environment. So, legal environment. So, pero din pong kulong. So, may dalawang kasing kulong. Una, pag nag-hack ka, data privacy ang nakapagpakulong sa'yo. Pag ikaw naman ng hack, or actually lang ikaw ng hack, owning and using hacking tool, owning pa lang, pwede ka rin makulong. Sa Cybercrime Act of 2012 naman, yun yung Tito Sotolo. Okay. So, using DBWA, sa loob ng PC mo, sa virtual machine mo, hindi ka makukulong. Okay? As long na hindi mo ibibigay yung laptop mo sa NBI natin, hindi pa FBI kasi NBI yung Pilipinas. So, hindi ka maliit na probability makakasuhan ka ng batas. Okay? So, pakita natin yung DBWA. Okay, so yung DBWA yan, so ano siya, actually kahit ipakita mo na lang yung pero yung to. So local, pakita mo yung IP address so installed siya sa, or hindi mo mapakita. Okay lang. So So install siya sa isang virtual machine sa cloud, tama, sa AWS atin install to DC. Okay, so yan. So papakita natin kung gaano kabilis siyang ma-hack. So normally so nasa 52 dot something, okay? So wag niyo pong subukan ngayon, pero normal ginagawa namin to sa mga ginagawa namin itong ganitong klaseng ganitong klase ng pagtuturo sa aming VAPT workshop. Okay, so yan. So normally magagawin tayo ang is root, tama ba? Admin root ba to? Ano password na ito? Admin ba to? Admin root. Admin ba to? Admin password daw. Okay, so napakasimple. Admin password daw. Okay. Okay. Hindi nakapasok. Okay. So, welcome to DBAA. So, maraming klase ng attacks. Okay. So, may brute force, may command injection, may CSRF, may file injection, blah, 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 blah. Pakita ko na sa inyo yung, again, kung tayo sa oras, pakita ko sa SQL injection muna. Okay. So, pakita SQL injection before tayo pupunta sa ano. So, SQL injection, so, tingnan mo yung user ID, blah, 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 blah. Pero iba't iba yung levels kasi ng kalaban natin. Kung yung kalaban natin ay 2 years na experience lang, syempre hindi pa siya ganun ka-security aware. So developer pa lang siya, di ba? Magkaiba yung functionality at security. Usually pagka developer ka, ang gusto mo lang matapos mo yung project mo. So pakita natin yung 0 to 2 years experience sa developer. So punta tayo sa DBAA security. As tingnan niyo na sa baano. So tingnan natin yung level. So pa-drop down. So high, medium, low, medium, high, impossible. So low ay 0 to 2 years developer. Yung medium, ito yung senior ng konti, ito yung 2 to 5 years developer. Tapos yung high, ito yung mga team lead na. So 5 to 10 years developer na itong mga to. Tapos impossible, ito daw yung mga nasa Silicon Valley nagkatrabaho. Isa rin possible pala yun. Bakit pa natin gagawin yun? Kahit taga Silicon Valley pa siya, again, kasi tao pa rin yung nag-code, di ba? So possible pa rin na ma-hack siya. There's no such thing as impossible. Only improbable. Lahat ng bagay na kukuha. Maliit lang yung probability. Pwede 0.0001 probability. Kahit gano'n paraming zero yun. Pero makakuha mo pa rin siya. It only just takes one, yung masigasig na kriminal para makuha yun. Okay? Okay? So, let's begin sa 0 to 2 years experience. So, low. Okay, so bakit tayo naging low na ba talaga? So, severity now set to low. Okay? Sige, okay. So punta tayo sa SQL injection. Okay, so normal na ginagawa yung user ID, type natin kung ano ginagawa, pakita natin muna. So reconnaissance first. Gawin natin kung ano ginagawa pag title 1, ano mangyari? Submit mo nga. Okay, so pag one type mo, admin. Tama? Sige, make sense po? Okay. So type natin ng 2. So pagka 2, sorry, ang lit ng ano ko, sakyan ko. So Gordon Brown daw, pagka 2. Okay. And so on and so forth. So pagka 3, etc. Pero may SQL injection, di ba usually nakita natin sa iba't ibang mga libro o iba't ibang mga tutorials ng mga Indiano, pag nag-single quote ka daw, mag-error daw. So gawin natin yung single quote. So nag-error na. So malamang, again, hindi pa siya SQL injection, pero possible na yung SQL injection kasi nagpapa-error muna. Nagpapa-error muna yung application nyo. Okay, so ito, first na tanong, sino nakakita na ito? Una makapag-yes at makapagpatunay na nakita niya na to ever may t-shirt. Type lang kayo sa chat box. May kausap pa ba ako? Kasi anto na lang kausap ko. Wala pa, sir. Wala pa si Kurt daw. Nag-error sa restaurant to. Sir, ano ka na? Accepted ka na. Magaling ka na, sir. Tingnan natin yung iba. May nakakita na ba na ito? Sa kahit kayo, mga nagano kayo, di ba? Usually IT, ano to? Ayan, si Sir James Alvin. Oh. Sir James Alvin, binibigay ko sa'yo. Pwede ba siya magsalita? Pakipagpakayan mo sa akin, sir, na nakakita ka na ng ganyan. Ay, ngayon lang, sir. Ay, ngayon lang pala, sir. Nakakita ka na ba sa application mo? Di ba IT, ano ka IT students kayo? Nakakita na ba kayo sa applications nyo? Ginawa nyo for thesis yung nagdiganto itsura. Nag-error. Wala ba kayo nakakita ng ganyan? First time? Okay. Sige. Aba nagati ako ng sagot ng makakapag-guess. Diretso ko lang yung ano ko. So usually pag nakita ka ng ganyan, actually kahit i-type nyo sa Google, usually SQL injectable. Usually agad sinasabing 100%, pero usually SQL injectable na yan. So balik tayo dun sa back tayo. So kailangan ang trabaho ng attacker is makahanap lang hindi lang single quote, makahanap ng specific na payloads. Ano yung payload? Ayun yung mismong ita-type mo. Okay, ita-type mo para mangyari yung attack. So kailangan again is either programmer ka na mayroon kang experience sa pag-program SQL or tawag mo dito taga-masigasig ka lang. So may mga ganun kasi kilala nakapag-SQL injection napunta pa sa Google na actually tao ko siya dati. Magiging tao ko siya dati. Ang tawag ko dito, nagyan pa siya sa actually nga sa SQL injection sa cross-site scripting, natutsambahan lang niya yung mga bagay-bagay. So hindi siya magaling na programmer kasi hindi siya programmer talaga pero nakuha niya yung specific na payload at napalabas na yung specific na error para bigyan siya ng Google. Na-awardan pa siya as dito, bug bounty, top 100 bug bounty ng Google. Okay. So pakita natin yung actual na attack, actual na payload. Usually or1 is equals to 1. Sige, pakita ko yung or1 is equals to 1 muna. Yung mali. Ito yung normal na kasi nakakita sa nakikita sa mga forums, di ba? Yung forum sa mga tutorial. Okay? Single quote din dapat. Tama, single quote din. Tapos one is, type natin, type ko. Ito yung normal na yan, atake. Again, si DC, and ito yung normal na atake, di ba? Ganyan. Ganyan yung payload na nakita mo sa sa mga forum. So, tigawin natin yan. Ano yung forum sa mga tutorial ko, no? Okay. Oh, sinagot niya na. Okay. Saan yung tamang sagot? May naman naman yung maling sagot. Gawin mo naman na JC yung maling sagot. Yung type ko sa yung type ko sa dito sa chat box. Hindi practice sa JC kung sa ito. So normal din to sa sitesphil. Hindi kami nag-practice sa dito sa actual attack. Nag-practice lang kami sa slides kasi lagi namin ito ginagawa. Kaya yun, kaya medyo hindi siya prepared dun sa Okay. So pag nagay yung mali attack, so mag-error lang mag-error. Hindi pala SQL injectable yan di ba? So normal naman susuko ka na. Kasi hindi ka SQL or hindi ka masyadong masigasig. Pero kung masigasig ka enough, back mo na. Pupuntahan mo yung tamang sagot. So, yung tamang sagot ay ayan na ata. Ayan na ba yung tamang sagot? Ayan yung tamang sagot yata. Okay. So, babagoy mo ng konti. Gawin mong strings. Imbis na 1 is equals to 1 na numeric. Okay. Okay? So, ilalabas na yung buong database. So, kuha mo na buong user database. So, pagkatapos yan, makukulong na yung DPO. May tanong ba kayo rito? O simple na ipag-hack? At si Sir James Alvin, simple lang ba yung ano? Simple lang yung payload? Chicken? Oh, wala. May kusa pa po ba ako? Wala lang kausap eh. Wala na akong kausap. Ay, meron pa si Sir Carl. O Sir Carl, naintindihan niyo pa sir yung ano, yung dito yung pinapaliwanag ko? May tanong ka ba sa pinakita ko or simple lang siya? Free t-shirt, Sir Carl, pag kung naintindihan, kung ano, kung mapaliwanag mo yung nangyari. May yata sa Ronga eh. Kalungkot.
Bago pa lang, sir.
Bago ba? And again, ito objective ko, wag tayo magsaya ng oras. Ako gusto ko, naintindihan natin yung mga pinag-ano natin. Again, hindi ko lang oras masayang, pati kayo na oras sayang yung oras. So, kung meron kayong tanong, again, this is a free consultation. Magayabang ako, mahal lang per ora ko. Pero gustong-gusto ko nagtuturo kasi masaya lang natututo kasi yun yung objective ko naman. IT Info Secure Philippines. So, kahit na walang sweldo pro bono work. So, kahit tingnan nyo pa yung website namin, kahit tingnan nyo pa yung yung profile ko, ay talaga yung lagi sinasabi ko. Tapos mas challenging, mas gusto ko yan. So, chance na nila yan magtanong ng free. Kaya nga, tama nagtanong kayo, guys. Sayang. Okay? So, yan. So, sa 0 to 2 years developer lang yung kinalaban mo eh. Gusto natin yung medyo matigas-tigas na. So, gawin natin 2 to 5 years developer, gawin natin medium. Okay? So, medium na daw. So, 2 to 5 years developer. So, yan. Atake mo JC. Okay. SQL injection. So, matilin yung developer natin. Hindi na freeform. Hindi na text box. Drop down na daw. Okay? Kasi matalino yung developer eh. Naka-attend na ng VAPT training. O di ka naka-attend na ng 1 hour. 1 hour input validation ni Sir Benji. Di ginawa niya ng select statement. Select statement. Select na input field na which is basically a drop down. Okay. So, click mo submit. Oh, maandar. Gawin mo 2. Submit. Okay? Sige, submit mo. So, maandar pa rin tama. Kaso, yung developer na to, hindi alam na may inspect element. Okay? 2 to 5 years developer pa lang eh. Kaso kayo, alam nyo na ngayon. Dapat ay na-assume ko. Dapat alam nyo na. So, go ahead inspect element. I-click mo na mismo sa ano. Tama ba? Hanapin mo na. Diyan ka mag-inspect element. O yan. Yan na. Okay, good. So, pag-gawin natin yung value. Galing natin ng single quote. Kaya nga, sir, di ba? Basic to, di ba? Pero again, 2 to 5 years developer to, malalaking companies at hindi nila natindihan to. Kasi hindi nila na-expect na gagawin to ng normal na user. Kaso may abnormal na user, kamukha ni JC. Kaya ka nagkakaroon ng ganito. So, enter natin yan. Submit. Yun, na-error na. Okay. So, yun, may SQL inject na kita. O, pakita natin yung sagot. Dahil natin yung sagot. Ngayon, panahon niya may inspect element. Yung panahon namin, pag-inspect element, sumana-mana pag-gagawa ng HTML form sa Notepad. Okay? Tignan mo. I-refresh mo na muna before mo i-submit. Back. Refresh. Tapos, baguhin mo na. Okay, good. Tapos enter mo before mo yan. Enter mo dun sa value yan. Okay, good. Pagka-submit, pagka yan. Tapos enter mo na muna yan. Okay, good. Tapos punta ka na sa form. Tama naman, di ba? Sige, submit mo na. Mali yata yung ano, yung payload. Okay lang. You can do it. So, that's si JC. Habang tatahit niya yung ating tamang payload. Na dapat para sa payload kanina. Baka nag-mistype lang siya. Sige, habang nag-atay kay JC, meron ba kayong tanong? Tama si Sir Sir Anton, si Sir Gerald, yan. So, tanong lang kayo, guys. Libre magtanong, may t-shirt pa. Di ba? Bait-bait namin dito sa sitesphil. At may free CSA pa, alam niyo ba yung lahat na nagbayad ng free CSA 1? So, yan. So, di ba? Magkano binayad ng iba? Parang buong school pa, parang kapiraso lang. Kaya ako magbanggit ng ayaw ko yung PM makapag-usap sa schools. Pero ang isang CSA, magkano sa isang CSA? $200 ba? Tama ba? $200? So, meron ka, nagbayad ka ng kapiraso, may $200 na voucher ka pa. At bibigay pa kami ng t-shirt. O, di ba? Ganun kami may toyo. Ganun kami toyo dito sa sitesphil. So yan. Naman na partner ni JC. So, good job, JC. So, nahack na natin yung 2 to 5 years developer. Okay? So, may tanong ba ron? Sir, dali lang yun. Ano na tawag dito? Drop down lang eh. Gusto ko sir yung high. May high ba tayo, JC? Wala. Impossible wala rin, syempre. Maganda ko ngayon kasi kailangan mag-enroll ako sa VAPT program namin. So, yun po, 3 to 5 days training kami ng VAPT. Magkano VAPT program natin? Sana ganyan all. Tama, sir. Sana all. China oil. Okay. Magkano, sir, VAPT natin? Magkano VAPT natin? 3,000 pesos daw, sabi ng aking marketing head. Okay. So, para makita yung sagot. Pero nakasata sa Google naman, ang objective natin, hindi masagot lang yung tamang payload. The objective natin is maging utak kriminal. Dapat to catch a hacker, sabi ka ni Kevin Mitnick, type ko yun, kasi importante yun. You have to think like one. Kailangan ko utak kriminal ka rin. Tuturo namin sa inyo sa dito sa VAPT training is maging utak kriminal. Okay? Hindi para maging kriminal kayo, kundi para malaman nyo kung ano ginagawa ng kriminal nang mahuli nyo sila. Okay, so with that, let's go back to the slides. Okay. So, yan. So, yung ginagawa SQL injection, read sensitive data from the database. So, nakita natin lahat. Hindi tayo pwedeng makasabi sa... Actually, kilala niyo man yung app na yun eh. Search nyo lang ngayon, di ba? Data breach, data privacy breach. Lending app. Ayun yung number one sa Google. So, hindi ko na kailangan i-hack yung database nila SQL injection lang through the web app. Kung hindi marunong yung application, yung developer nila, hindi nag-aral ng VAPT program or ng input validation, malamang na-atake na kayo. Okay. So, yun yung read sensitive data. Text modified database data. So, kanina kasi basic lang eh. Select state, nag-read lang tayo. So, ito lang pwede ako maglagay pa ng ibang payload doon na makapag-truncate ng database, makapag-delete ng buong database. Administrative privileges, blah blah blah. Pwede ako pa-slip ko yung buong server. Pwede rin recover ako ng given present DBMS file system at marami pang iba. So next naman ay cross-site scripting. So yung cross-site scripting, ito din nagka-pop out, okay? Pero di sir, pop-up lang pala yan eh. Ba't siya vulnerability? So di lang siya nagka-pop out ng number o ng letters, kundi ang nakakatakot sa kanya, kakakuha siya ng session ID or ng cookies. So ano yung cookie? Okay. Kaya palawanag ito palagi. Kaya nalulungkot ako sa pababa yung ating participant number. Pero yung cookie, ito yung ang analogy ko palagi, ito yung pupunta ka sa building. Hindi ka taga-building na yon. So usually, halayin ka ng guardia, sabi ng guardia, penging valid ID, government ID. Papalitan ka ng building ID. So ganito yung cookie. So yung binibigay mo sa guardia is yung government ID, issued ID mo, yung credentials mo, username tsaka password. Okay? So yun yung binibigay. Papalitan niya ng cookie. So yung cookie na yun ay yung kailangan mo para pumunta sa iba't ibang pages nung application. Same thing yung building ID na kailangan mo para makapaikot sa buong building. Hindi mo kailangan mag-log in every time. Di ba nakakalungkot yun pag every page ng application, mag-log in ka, di ba? Ang lungkot-lungkot nun. So ang ginawa ng web app ng web 2 na actually web 1.0, sabi niya may cookie tayo, ayun ang gagamitin mo para umikot-ikot sa web application. Okay? So ayun yung cookie. Okay? So, klaro ba 'yon? Kung hindi klaro 'yon, kaya hindi mo na kailangan ng creds mo, kailangan cookie mo lang. Okay? Okay? So, punta tayo sa cross-site scripting sa DBWA. Okay, so punta tayo muna sa 0 to 2 years experience na developer. Okay? So, low na siya. Okay, so punta tayo sa cross-site scripting na reflected. So, reflected, sabihin, ang kalaban ko, sarili ko. Sir, ba't mo makakalaban sa sarili mo? Para kang tanga niyan. So, usually kasi ito nangyari yung phishing attack. Ang paano phishing attack? Magkapadala ako sa email, i-click mo yung link sa email, usually may kasama cross-site scripting yun. So, pag hindi mo doon, yung cookie mo, pinadala mo na sa akin, hindi mo namamalayan. So, ganun nangyayari yung reflected cross-site scripting. Okay? So, bakit natin muna kung paano ma-adapt to. What's your name? JC. Kahit sino. So, hello JC, saan nakita to? Sino makakasagot? Free t-shirt ulit. Saan nakita yung hello JC or hello something? O si Sir Anton na lang. Sir Anton, hindi ka kita ng free t-shirt. Saan nakita yung saan mo nakita yung hello tapos name mo? Nahiya yung mga tao, nahiya yung mga estudyante. Sa jQuery? Pwede. Sige, Sir Jan Red, paano yun? Pop-up? Pwede. Sige, ito malapit. Sige, Sir, paano Sir sa jQuery muna bago tayo kay Sir Gilier? Salta kayo sa audio. Pwede mo sila mag-audio? Nabigyan pa kayo na weird talaga ako magpa-seminar. Usually, pinapatay lahat ng audio. Pinatay lahat ng audio para ngayon gusto ko mag-ano kayo, salta kayo na magsalta. Murahin nyo kung gusto nyo. Wala sa aking problema. Okay, go.
Kapag nag-ano siya, nag-ikot ka ng pangalan mo sa or nag-login ka sa isang website.
Yeah, pag nag-login ka, usually hindi lang jQuery. Usually pag login mo kahit sa online banking, nakasulat sa taas, sa pinakataas. Kahit sa Yahoo Mail, tsaka sa Gmail, nakasulat, hello, something. So, ayun ang ina-atake natin ngayon dito. So, si Sir John Red napalit. Sir John Red, anong size ng size mo? Small, medium, large para sa t-shirt. Bigay mo na lang sa amin namin o message mo na lang dito. So, may free t-shirt ka na. O, ganun kadali, di ba? Ganun kami kabilis. So, di ba? Medium daw. Okay, so good. So, ganun, di ba? So, okay sa akin yan. So, gusto ko, may kausap lang ako. Kasi nga ng oras. So, normal yan nangyayari. Ayan. So, paano kayo naatakihin yan? Kasi karamihan ng application may ganyan. O, Sir Gillian, mamaya next time ka na. Pero yun. So, nagbigay na ako t-shirt. Mamaya ulit magbigay t-shirt. So, what's your name? So, lagay natin yung atake. Sige, pakita mo na Jason sagot. Okay. So, umatake na. So, nangyari na nag-alert na yung one, pop-up lang, di ba? So, sir, di ba pop-up lang yan? Kaya makasabi Sir Gillian, bakit naging ba't naging vulnerability yan? Gawin nating document at cookie. Di ba yung kailangan ko yung cookie mo, di ba? Pakatin yung cookie mo. Wrong spelling natin cookie. Tama ba? Sorry, again, malabo naman ako, JC. Tama naman, Sige, okay. So, yun na yung cookie. So, nakakuha ng hacker yung cookie. So, tapos sa unboxing. Nagagari ka ba, Sir John Ren? Sagot ka, huy! Libre kang t-shirt. Sagot ka. Tama ba, Sir John Ren? Oh, sir, sa akin, sir. Sayang. Sir Anton, tinawag ka kita kanina. Sayang. Pero mamaya, tayo, sir. Tawagin ulit kita mamaya. So, ganyan ka-simple. So, nakuha ko na yung cookie. So, ano normal nangyari ito? So, normal ito, di ba nakalagay sa Facebook mo? Tapos may nagpadala ako sa iyo ng email o ng chat. Actually ngayon, yung mga chat ngayon, yung mga SMS, kahit MMS. MMS ang ginagamit kayo ng mga ano, iMessage. Pinakamaganda iMessage kasi naka-iPhone ako eh. Diba? So Android, o sa Android, MMS na rin naman yun eh. So, pag nagpadala ko sa iyo ng image, yung mapanood sa movie, yung image na yun, may kasamang cross-site scripting. Eh nakalagay sa Facebook mo, sa online banking mo. Inopen mo ngayon yung image. Akin na ngayon yung online banking mo. Ganun kabilis. Ang dali na ng buhay ngayon. Sobrang dali na nga. Lahat ng bagay nakuha mo na. So, click mo yung okay. Dahil tapos na tayo dyan. Sir, di naman 0 to 2 years developer ng online banking, di ba? Usually, mga 5 to 10 years experience. Meron ba tayo pang high dyan, JC? Doon tayo sa ay JC ng medium, high na kaagad. Yung mga bigating developer na. Gawin natin high. Okay? Okay, so kaya na ba yan, JC? Okay, sige. Pakita mo yung attack. Ayan. So normally kasi nakita ko sa mga developers, ang binablock yung word na script. Diba? Tagal yung word na script. Kasi yun ang naman atake sa cross-site scripting. At pakita namin sa inyo, hindi kailangan ng script para sa cross-site scripting. Okay. So yun na. Ano ginamit niya? Body on load. So ibang HTML tag ginamit niya para umadnodar yung cross-site scripting attack. May tanong kayo rito? Walang tanong? Next tayo. Next na, again, meron pang impossible, pero napapakita sa inyo kung gusto niyo i-research. Sa Google lahat ang sinasabi ko. Kung gusto niyo mag-enroll ng VAPT workshop David, again, shameless marketing, total event naman namin to. Sabi nga ni Sir Anton, kapag may event kami, talo pa kami. Pero hindi naman talo-talo. Kapag may kinita naman kami, don't get me wrong, kasi may pinapasweldo ako. Pero may mga tao ako pinapasweldo. Pero tawag rito, hanggat maaari, kung pwedeng ibigay namin sa inyo libre, binibigay namin ng libre. Tubo pa nga kayo kasi ngayon $200 yung voucher na pinamigay namin. Okay? So, balik tayo sa slides. Okay? Sabi natin, cross-site scripting, meron pa klase na ibang klase ng cross-site scripting, may store tsaka DOM base. Type 30 na. Ayoko na kayo, alam ko inaantok na iba, 283 na lang mula sa 290. So, diretso na ako sa next HTML field. Hindi pala, HTML field text, text area. So, command injection naman. So, merong iba't ibang kasing injection attacks. So, may code injection. Pwede ka maglagay ng, kung alam mong PHP siya, pwede maglagay ng PHP code. Command injection. So, papakita sa command injection. SQL injection, pinakita namin sa inyo kanina. Cross-site scripting, pinakita ko na rin kanina. LDAP injection, kung naka-LDAP, yung LDAP is lightweight directory access access ba protocol. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Basta ginagawa ng yung ginagamit ng authentication mo ay through an LDAP database sa XML injection. So, bakit tayo command injection ngayon? So, balik tayo sa DBWA. So, gawin natin low muna. Okay? So, punta ka na sa atake, sa injection. So, you enter an IP address. So, nakita to. O, sinakita na ito, may free t-shirt. Saan website ka makita ng ganito? O, Sir Anton, ikaw na una. Saan ka nakita ng ganito? Kahit sino. Sino nakakita na ng website na nagaganto? Si Josephine Tango. Sige, Ma'am Josephine, hindi ko alam yun ha. Sige, Ma'am Josephine. Sa Wi-Fi nakakita ng ganito? Yan, si Sir Anton. Tama si Sir Anton. Sa mga Globe Wi-Fi. Pero ganyan. Sige, sino mauna? Nauna si Ma'am Josephine. Sige, Ma'am Josephine, ikaw muna. Audio, please. Sa Wi-Fi. Di pa ako nakita sa Wi-Fi. Pero kung nakita ka na, paliwanag mo sa akin. Go. Ano, Ma'am Josephine? Ma'am Josephine, go. Router, oh, sige. Ma'am Josephine, ako na kayo. Sige. So, yung router mo, na galing sa Globe, na Huawei, sinasabi mo sa akin meron kasamang pang-ping. Tama ba? Tama. Actually, tama si Sir Anton eh. Kaso nawalan ng konti si Ma'am Josephine eh. Okay. Pero gusto mo rin yung boss ng Josephine. Ma'am Josephine, audio. Okay, go ahead.
Pag ano sir, pag mag-access ka po sa Wi-Fi,
Tapos merong enter na IP address, tapos pwede ka mag-ping na kahit sa IP address. Tama ba?
yes sir.
Okay, sige Ma'am Josephine, tama ka. Anong size ng t-shirt mo? Para ako si Willie. Bigyan ng jacket yan. Anong size ng t-shirt ng Ma'am Josephine? Di sumagot, wala na. small daw sa Josephine. Okay. Okay, sige, okay. Okay, so yan. Pero pa ba ako sa t-shirt? May sama akong t-shirt? May sama akong t-shirt? Ilan ba t-shirt ko? 3 yun, di ba? So, isa pa. Sabi ko na kay Sir Anton yung isa. So, tigi-tigi isang t-shirt si Anton, si Ma'am Josephine, tsaka si isa? Si Janel. Okay, so good job. Okay. 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 So, tayo natin ngayon, enter IP address. So, pakita natin, IP address muna. Tayo ka muna, JC. Okay. Sige, okay. So, nag-ping na siya. 8.8.8.8. Eh, kaso, yung developer na ito, 0 to 2 years developer lang. So, pakita natin yung actual na payload na nang matapos na tayo, JC. Okay. So, anong ginawa ni JC? Pwede mag-replace sa IP address kasi nilagay IP address. Naglagay semicolon para matapos. Ginagawa nun, tinatapos mo yung first command. The second command is cat etc pass wd. Cat. Basically, if nag-exist yung file, i-output yung laman ng file. Pag hindi mo nag-exist yung file, mag-create siya ng file na pangalan ay ganun. Okay? Again, dito Linux, dito Linux course. Ang gusto kong sabihin, yung etc pass wd, ayan yung users ng lahat here. So, abangan natin yan. Okay? So, yan. So, ayan yung nangyari. Study naman sila 2 years developer, yung mga developer namin. So, ano next? Medium? Tama, DC? Medium ba sunod? O wala na? O, medium daw muna. Okay, go ahead. Pakita yung medium. O, medium size sa Anton. So, medium na. Command injection. Pakita mo na yung actual attack. So, matalino yung developer natin. Bawal daw yung semicolon. Hindi lang semicolon naman ang atake. So, ginawa yung semicolon, lagyan niya ng pipe. Ito ginamit ng attacker. Okay. So, nakuha na rin. Okay? So, ano yung gusto kong sabihin dito? Hanggat maaari, wag ka mag-assume kung anong gagawin nung kalaban mo. Kasi hindi mo malalaman dahil iba't iba yung utak ng attacker. So, pwede mo ang gawin for safety, imbis na mag-blacklist ka, discuss ko kami blacklist versus whiting, imbis na sabi mo ito yung mga bawal, sabi mo ito lang yung pwede. Nang sa gayon, malilimit mo yung a-attacking sa'yo kasi ang pwede naman alphanumeric hindi pwede semicolon, hindi pwede yung pipe, hindi pwede yung parentheses, etc. Kasi possible na may atake na hindi mo pa alam using a parenthesis. Okay? So, ayan yung gustong sabihin ng input validation. So, mamaya discuss sa best practices. Okay? So, balik tayo sa slides. Okay, again, fine ilang minutes na ako, diretso ko na, magkamadali na ako. So, tapos tayo sa text text area tsaka hidden field. So, next is radio button tsaka drop down. So, yung drop down, pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, di ba? Tama? Ayun yung medium sa tawag dito sa cross size, sa SQL injection. Tama, SQL injection, medium sa SQL injection. Pero ito yung gusto ko sabihin dito sa radio buttons. Normal to. Hindi pati sa drop downs din. Tawag dito. Ito yung mga bagay na hindi pwedeng mas-scan. Na kahit gaano kagaling pa ng scanner mo, kahit hundreds of thousands of dollars pa yan, yung logic flow. So, the business logic flow. Yung business logic, ayoko mali kasi business logic eh. Hindi naisip ng developer na possible na mangyari yon. Doon ka ma-atake. Normal ako dito. If male, pakita mo sa Lazada yung lahat ng male clothes. If female, pakita mo sa Lazada female clothes. Paano pagka kamukha na ginawa GC in F12, sabi nga, inspect element. Ano na mangyayari? Hang na. So, ito yung mga passive, ito yung sabi ko na, i-limit mo yung choices. So, if male, ganito. If female, if wala pa rin sa return, mag-exit ka gracefully, which ay yung last line nung code na yan. Kung hindi mo ginagawa yan as developer, malamang sa malamang matagal ka na nahack. Okay? Okay? So, hindi ko di-discuss, I expound more kasi late na yung oras. Pero I hope naintindihan yung gusto kong sabihin. Next slide. So, file types. So, normal din to. Di ba nag-upload tayo ng picture sa Facebook, sa social media. So, pwede ka rin mag-upload ng tawag ito ng malware or di lang malware ng tawag ito ng cross-site scripting or kung ano SQL injection at tatanggapin siya ng web server kung hindi marunong mag-input validation yung developer. Saan nag-input validate mo sa input type? Ito, nakakakita na ako na ito. Binavalidate daw ng developer input type by getting the extension. So, halimbawa, Benji.jpg. So, tatanggapin kasi yung .jpg eh. Okay? Paano pag malware.jpg siya? Tatanggapin na rin siya ng application mo. Sir, di naman ganun katangay yung mga developers namin. Tama sir, di ba? May extension sir, di ba? Di naman extension lang yung mga developers namin, pati yung content type. I-check namin. Paano pag sinabi ko sa inyo, kahit yung content type, pwede natin baguhin. Kasi header lang siya ng file. Alam niyo ba yun? Sayang wala na pamigay t-shirt. Pero kung may nakakaalam nun, so, pwede yung file inclusion doon. File inclusion attacks doon. So, meron pang ibang ways. Again, pwede, actually, normally sabi, flatten mo yung file para mawala yung mawala yung malware. Pero para flatten, yung JPEG kasi pwede mo pang isang i-flatten. So, automatic lahat ng mga junk na bytes, itatapon niya. Or, yung validation ng gusto, merong ang mga PDF, may mga magic numbers. Again, depende sa, you can just research sa RFCs. So, yung RFCs is yung request for comments. Bawat isang file may specific or unique na nagpa-upload dito na pwede mong i-validate sa kanya. Okay? Okay. I would jump to the next slide hoping na may natutunan kayo, meron kayo napulot kahit paano ron. Alam ko medyo complex yung mga sinabi ko na yun, pero hopefully meron kayo napulot ron. So next slide please. Solutions. So, sir, napakita mo na yung atake. Kailangan ipakita tayo solution kasi kawawa naman yung mga tao dito, kawawa naman yung kikinig. Actually, pag pinapakita ko to, nagagalit sa akin yung mga tao dito. Pinakita ko soft phone to, pinakita ko sa, meron pa isang company, insurance company ba yun? Nagalit sa saga kasi hindi ko pinakita solution. Parang pinakita ko sa nagalitan lang. Pero hindi ko pinakita ko paano i-solve. So, sabi ko, part yun ng solution is yung BAPT. Papakita sa solution. Hindi ako magkukode para sa inyo. Pero at least, tawag mo rito, at least, pakita sa generic solution. Kung kailangan nyo talaga pa ng tulong, tutulungan namin kayo. Pero again, hindi kayo magkukode para sa inyo. So, ito yung solutions. So, best practices. Generic best practices. Next slide. So, kauna-unahan, syntactic tsaka semantic validation. So, ano yung syntactic tsaka semantic? So, yung syntactic, syntax. yung specific, ang masasabi ko sa inyo kanina kung yung ano tawag dito, yung username mo alphanumeric lang. So alphanumeric ang tanggapin mo. Syntax. Okay. Ano yung semantic? Semantic, ibig sabihin semantic, again, I'm used dito top of my head, context-based. So maganda example, bibili ako sa Lazada or sa Shopee or ano ba isa? Ano ba isa? So yan, hindi ako nag-online shopping masyado. Numeric dapat yung quantity. Okay. Pero hindi dapat numeric. Dapat semantic din. Pwede ba yung negative value? Semantic. Tama, sir. Sir, nag-joke. Okay. Para sa tama. Antivirus nga yun, sir. So, yung semantic, tawag ito yung context-based. So, pwede ba yung negative value sa e-commerce site? Alam niyo, nung nandun ako sa sa Paymaya, sa dati ko pang mga companies, ayun yung first na pinapakita ko sa kanila. Subukan ka saan magpadala negative value. Di ba? Usually, fund transfer. Bago pa yung COVID. Andar kaya? Malulungkot kayo kasi marami pang mga online banking systems sa Pilipinas na possible pa rin yun. Sana wagin yung bangko niyo. Again, nag-develop naman sa kasi COVID ngayon. Hindi na direct, hindi sa fund transfer. Sa ibang functionality kayo magpadala negative value. Okay? Hindi ko kayo inaano pero hanapin nyo na lang. Meron pa rin ganun. Mag-exist pa rin. Okay. Next, whitelisting at blacklisting. So whitelisting, specific lang kung ano yung gusto mong pasukin. Kaya hindi nyo reason, nalulungkot ako sa mga batas kasi usually sabi ng batas, bawal ganito, bawal ganyan. So sabi, ito yung normal na example ko. Nung bago nagkaroon ng Dangerous Drugs Act of the Philippines, DDAP. Sinasabi lang doon kung ano yung mga drugs na bawal. Wala pa yung methamphetamine hydrochloride. Ano yun? Shabu yun. Street name shabu. Wala yun sa listahan. Nahuli ngayon ng mga pulis yung kriminal. Wala sa listahan ng bawal na drugs yung methamphetamine hydrochloride. So ginawa ng mga pulis, pinakawalan sila. Galit na galit yung media sa kanila. Dahil ba't pinakawalan? Siguro nagbayad sa inyo nagbayad sa inyo ng bribe, ng suhol yung mga kriminal na yon. Di lang nila masabi kaya nila na binobroadcast kasi ayaw nilang kumalat yung shabu. Dahil alam ng mga kriminal na pwede pala siya sa batas ng Pilipinas. So dapat sinuotan sa batas ng Pilipinas, bawal ang drugs. Kasi bawal din kasi yun, no? Kasi paano yung medical drugs, di ba? Yung pang maintenance mo, bawal na rin. So nakakalungkot din. So yan yung pinagkaiba ng blacklisting at whitelisting. Okay. So blacklisting naman, specific yung mga bawal. Kamukha nun, bawal yung marijuana, bawal yung methamphetamine hydrochloride. Okay. Bawal ang heroin. Yung heroin is mataas kaysa shabu. Okay. Again, hindi ko inside mag-drugs kayo. So sabi ko lang na maraming mga bagay na nakasuot sa batas, nasunod sa batas pero kulang pa rin kasi siya. Kaya laging kailangan nagkakaroon ng addendum. Nagkakaroon ng revisions. Same thing sa security. Bakit daw lagi may trabaho sa security? Kasi everyday nagbabago yung security landscape. Nagbabago yung attacks, nagbabago yung actors. So dahil nagbabago yung actors, kailangan natin mag-aral na mag-aral. Kasi mas dumarami yung attacks, dumarami yung threat vectors o threat attacks. Tawag dito. Kailangan natin mag-aral na mag-aral palalo. Okay. Next, canonicalization. Canonicalization, big word. Ibig lang sabihin yan is simplify mo yung mga inputs na pumapasok sa application mo. So normal, halimbawa, pagpasok sa application mo, patanggap ka ng Chinese character. So yung Chinese character usually, pagka kinonvert mo sa ASCII, halimbawa, may Chinese character na blah 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 blah, naging a single quote siya pagka naging ASCII na. A single quote, di ba? Yung single quote, sabi natin kanina, SQL injection na yun. Din-hack na rin. So, canonicalization? Make things simpler. Ginagawa ng actually, meron kaming project, nagkaroon kami ng SQRT project, sabi ko sa kanila, dapat iba yung international na version ng app versus sa Philippine version ng app. Bakit? Kasi yung international, UTF-16 na natanggap natin dito. So, pwede yung mga international characters. Pero pagka sa atin, Pilipinas naman tayo, siguro ilan lang naman sa Pilipino. Yung SQRT is meant for the Philippines. So, alam ko may mga Chinese tayo doon, kaya may mga Phil-Chinese. At I don't disrespect them. Pero for our purpose of security, siguro ang pwede ko lang tanggapin sa SQRT app natin ay yung Filipino names nila. Okay? Tara ba yun? So, ayun sabihin nung canonicalization. Regular expression. So, ano yung regular expression? So, ito yung nakasuot sa taas. So, specific na dito, specific form. Inform naman. Paano inform? So, halimbawa, SS number. SS number usually, 2 sa unahan, 6 sa gitna, tapos 1 sa dulo, if I'm not mistaken. O 7 yata sa gitna. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So, pag halimbawa hindi siya tama yung format, huwag mo na siya tanggapin. So, yun yung regular expression. Okay? 5:45 na. So, punta ako sa next slide. Kung wala kayong tanong kayo. Baka magbigay kami ng iba pang giveaway kung gusto nyo. Kung meron pa kaming giveaway, pero yan. Tanong lang kayo. So, next slide. So, ano pa yun sa best practices? So, client-side versus server-side validation. So, don't get me wrong, okay po yung client-side validation. Pero kung ako pa pipiliin, kung halimbawa isang developer ko at nagigipit kami sa oras, unahin ko yung server-side validation. Yung client-side validation helps the legitimate users para mapabilis yung processing nila. Pero yung hacker, di naman siya legitimate user, diretso sa server-side, so dapat may server-side validation ka palagi. Encoding. Hanggat maaari, tawag mo rito, magkatatanggap ng encoding, the UTF-8 or UTF-16 na hindi mo kaya. Hanggat maaari. Sa Paymaya kasi meron kami dating gusto namin magkaroon ng mga, di ba, sa Australia o sa Europe, mga O'Neill, ganyan, may single quote yung pangalan. Oh, sabi ko, ayun. So nagalit din ako dito. Sabi ko, si Shaquille O'Neal, ganyan yung pangalan, di ba? So, galit ako kasi kailangan namin tanggapin yan. Sabi ko, sir, nasa Pilipinas ba tayo o nasa Amerika tayo? Kailan ba may pangalan na ganyan? Okay. So, kasi yung risk, again, don't get me wrong, okay sa akin yan kung magaling na developers natin. Kung Silicon Valley, impossible level na yung mga developers natin. Pero kung mga developers natin nasa medium tsaka high pa lang, hindi ko tatanggapin yung single quote na to. Okay. Kung ako lang masusunod. Pero again, at the end of the day, it's business, and business always wins. Okay. Next, file upload verification, validation. So, sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, so pwede ako maglagay ng malware sa loob ng file. Okay. So, yan. So, kailangan i-verify natin yon. So, verify mo upload, i-verify mo storage, after dito yung pati pag-serve ng content. So, mag-example nito, nag-upload ako ng file, profile pic ko, may malware. So, lahat ng magtitingnan ng profile pic ko, lahat na malwarean ko na. O, di ba? So, may kasalanan ba yung developer o yung sysad or yung company na pagkakalat ng virus? Kahit ako, yung as user, ginawa ko yun. Oo. Meron, may liability siya. Kasi hindi niya gawa yung best practice, which is validate ko yung ina-upload na file sa system ko. Okay? Next, beware of special file. So, hanggat maaari, specific file types lang yung tatanggapin ng system natin. Okay, next slide. Yan na. So, question answer na. So, may tanong ba kayo? So, habang nag-isip kayo tanong, punta ako sa next slide. So, nag-offer kami ng free VAPT. So, kaya naghihingi ako ng volunteers, di ba? So, kung gusto nyo magpa-VAPT sa amin ng libre, di ba? Actually, free VAPT, live pa nga eh. Pero tayo hindi kami nag-offer. Kung ayaw nyo ng live, pwede kami mag-offer sa free VAPT. Click ko lang ilang ito QR code na to or email yung info@sitesphil.com. We will be giving you a free VAPT consultation. Actually, consultation talaga actual VAPT kaso nga lang limited yung number ng endpoints na gagamitin i-scan natin. Next slide. Tira na tayong slide for SecDev. Okay, so okay lang. So back mo. So yan. So free VAPT to anyone na naka-attend sa conference na to. Okay, so tanong daw ni Ian. Remember, sir, that owning and using hacking tool is punishable by law. If I host my tools on a VPS out of the Philippines, use it legally, am I still liable by law? Sige, ano natin muna yung kay Ian. Magandang tanong yung kay Ian. Kasi lagi tatanong sa akin yan. So, nasaan yung hacking tool? Nasa Pilipinas o wala sa Pilipinas? Wala, nasa cloud daw. So, good. So, hindi ka liable sa pag-own ng hacking tool kasi wala hacking tool sa Pilipinas. Ayun yung source. As a destination, sino bang i-hack mo? Kung destination nasa loob nilang Pilipinas, then you are still liable. Nasagot ko ba, Sir Ian, yung tanong? Okay, good. Next. Sir, good thing po ba na meron kami laging anti-malware besides antivirus? Oo. Kung may pera rin lang kayo, mag-IPS pa kayo. Anong IPS? Yung HIPS, yung Host Intrusion Prevention System. Sabi nga, Sir, yung Symantec meron nun. Kaso mahal. Kung may pera rin lang kayo, di lang antivirus, anti-malware, HIPS pa, kaso mabagal. Mabagal yung PC nyo kasi marami kumakain ng ano. Pero again, it's always safe than to be sorry. Prevention is always better than cure. Di baling mabagal. Basta sigurado. Ano ba? Tanda doon siya boy, slowly but surely. Okay, salamat Sir Carl. May tanong pa? I guess wala nang tanong, so wrap up natin.
Sorry. Okay, yan. So yan. I hope marami kayong natutunan. And yun nga, although medyo late na, sana nag-enjoy kayo dun sa ano. And thank you, Sir Benji, again, for an accelerating talk. And we would like to ask you, kung wala na pong questions, so we would like to award the certificate na po to Sir Benji. Okay. So, nakapost na ba? So, ita. Okay. So, medyo ano lang. So, again, thank you po, Sir Benji. And we would like to award this certificate of appreciation to you, Sir Benji Brian Zamora, for imparting your valuable insights and inspirations to inspiring audience during the HKNL 2021, given this 20th day of February 2021. So signed by our by the project manager Jonard Pangan, by our president Rachel Ann Zamora, and of course kayo po mismo. So the head of consulting, Sir Benji. So again, thank you po.
Thank you, sitesphil. Thank you, Conrad, and thank you, President, for a job well done. Salamat. Salamat po sa mga nakinig. Hopefully po, makita po namin kayo sa next run namin. So, thank you po. Thank you po sa lahat.
So, hi. Good. It's almost evening. So, again, what an excellent presentation from our recognized speakers. So, now we would like to take this moment to thank our sponsors on this event. So our school partners under C3E, First Asia Institute of Technology and Humanities, Central Philippine University, the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, Panaon Campus, Tanawan City College, and Ma'am Maricel Malabanan of First Asia Institute of Technology and Humanities, the chairman of C3E. So our partners and sponsors, Mile 2. So I would like to thank Mr. Raymond Friedman for that. So Isaka Manila Chapter, Mr. J. Gomez, Comtia, Mr. Orly Sichon, and Dr. Singh. And special mention and thanks to our gold sponsor, Globe My Business. So this event is not possible without all of you. So it's very nice to see all of you until the end of the event, and we hope you have been enjoying yourself at the conference so far. So we are very honored to have you all with us here today. So we had a productive and inspiring time together. So and this event is about to come to end of its day one. So I hope you found the sessions in this conference to be very informative and helpful. So let us all be guided by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference and be able to see and influence our future. So till we meet again tomorrow. So may all of you learned a lot of things today. And once again, this is Hackin Ka Na Lang 2021, the Cybersecurity Conference. See you tomorrow for the Capture the Flag challenges. Thank you, guys.
Welcome to our highly secure Globe My Business Data Center. Before we get started, here are 3 things you need to know. First, Globe My Business has 8 interconnected data centers across the Philippines to ensure redundancy during unforeseen events. Second, we are a Tier 3 aligned data center, which can guarantee 99.982% availability and protection from Intensity 8 earthquake and flooding. Third, we employ a very high level of security to ensure your data and operations are never compromised. Now, let's begin our data center tour. Security is our top priority as a Tier 3 aligned data center. All client equipment and servers first undergo sanitation in the bomb-proof quarantine room and then further tested in the client lab before moving to a server room. Each area has a CCTV that is closely monitored 24/7 by a security operations team. These are necessary to maintain a secure environment for clients' critical data. Entering is no easy task due to layers of existing security barriers. First, an online access request must be processed before you visit. 2 valid IDs are requested upon entering the data center. On the first visit, a photo will be taken and a form must be filled out. Then, a visitor will be given a color-coded ID as an access to a designated zone. All visitors and clients must be accompanied by authorized personnel. Upon entering the main data center, you'll pass a metal detector before entering the main door with your ID. Each zone has a man trap before the main server room. It is a small room that can open only 1 door at a time to ensure security and maintain proper temperature. The authorized personnel will open the next door through a special 2-factor authentication hand key device. Each server is housed either in a rack or a cage. These can only be accessed through a key provided by security operations team. These access points are designed to ensure that only authorized persons can have access to the data center. Proper cooling and temperature provides the best environment for the servers. Each zone uses a precision air conditioning which maintains a 21 to 24 degrees Celsius and 45 to 55% humidity. In case of fire, all areas are equipped with an automated nitrogen-based fire suppression. The condition of facilities are also monitored 24/7 to ensure proper maintenance and no system failure. Power plays a vital role in running the servers. With this, support and 2N power to the racks is mandatory in the data center. The power room has 8 big generator sets powered by 2 batteries and a 45,000 liter of diesel, which can support generators for 2 weeks, even without electricity. There are also battery reserves for UPS. The UPS, or uninterrupted power supply, has 96% efficiency with only 4% loss. It has 2 power systems, and each takes 5 milliseconds before shutting down after a power shutdown. These power security measures prevent any possible power downtime in the data center. To be disaster ready, we ensure redundancy in our data centers and cloud services to ensure faster data recovery during unfortunate events. There you have it. That's how secure and reliable our data centers are. And aside from that, we also have certified IT professionals and data center specialists to ensure that all our partners like you are guaranteed full data security support. And because of our reliable services, we can provide you the triangle offense strategy that your business needs, with co-location, virtual private cloud, backup as a service, and disaster recovery as a service to help you drive business efficiency and prepare you for any possible disaster or system failure. Start optimizing your business today with the trusted data security partner, Globe My Business Data Center and Cloud Services. Because data optimized is business optimized. As your business grows, every bit of information becomes vital, making data security a real business need. But with business expansion comes bigger costs for manpower, office space, and electricity. Even server licenses, equipment, and maintenance can cost your business a lot. That's why we're introducing Globe My Business Cloud Services. Now, you can maximize the benefits of having infrastructure security without the high costs. With a virtual private cloud that multiplies your data storage capacity, you simply need to pay a monthly recurring fee that's scalable depending on your need. And the best part is, you don't have to worry about high capex, so you can allocate your company budget on other investments that will fast-track your business growth. Use it as a production server to efficiently run your company's business applications. With backup as a service, you can be worry-free from uncontrollable calamities and disasters, since your critical data and application are stored in a reliable backup server that you can easily access online to monitor utilization and recover data anytime, and at 99.985% availability. Finally, to make sure your data is uncompromised, we only utilize best-in-class security protocols in all our data centers across the country. From data center access, to location, to power, to temperature, all the way to support security. This applies to all our 8 interconnected data centers across the country, allowing redundancy among sites. And because of our reliable services, we can provide you the triangle offense strategy that your business needs, with co-location, virtual private cloud, backup as a service, and disaster recovery as a service to ensure your business is prepared and properly supported to face any disaster or system failure, among others. So, let's help your business grow faster, with more savings and less worries. Secure your business today and optimize it for the future with Globe My Business Cloud Services, the trusted data security partner of growing businesses.